Two of the characters have blonde hair, so we're gonna knock that out really quick. Whoop. Can't get it to open. Having technical difficulties. Oh, and before I forget, gotta put the glove on. Only because it's kind of warm in here. And if my hand starts sweating, it is not going in a glove, so. There we go. Alright. Hope you guys are all having a pretty good day. Hope you had a good weekend. I spent most of my weekend working on a display level mini. You can check that out on the page. I did 3 of them. Each one a different tier. But so today we're working on finishing up the 7 heroes from Scythe. This is a tabletop level commission, so nothing too crazy. The lowest tier of commission work that I offer, but it still looks good. I have done these before, so luckily I am familiar with the process that I'm going to be doing. The first time you ever paint a sculpt of a miniature, it's always kind of weird. It takes a little bit longer. Second, third, fourth, fifth time you do it, it gets much easier. Yeah, sure. You could definitely send me your miniatures. Check out my pricing. Pretty cheap, pretty fast. Of course, that depends on what quality you're looking for, but my basic quality is pretty cheap. My second tier is pretty cheap. The highest display level, obviously, a bit more expensive, but it also takes me anywhere from 5 to like 9 hours per miniature, so. And I do this full time, so I gotta make a living off of it. Alright. And you'll notice too, some of the components here are bent on these because they use the soft plastic, but we'll straighten that out once they're finished. It's a pretty easy trick. Thin the paints down a little bit so that if I accidentally put it in the wrong place like I just did, you can just wipe it off. Not a big deal. The last thing we did on the morning stream was finish the skin. If it's your first time checking out my page or seeing the stream, I usually stream twice a day, Monday through Friday. Always at least once if I have commissions I'm working on. So, if you're interested in learning how to paint or anything like that, want to pick up some tips, tricks, you can feel free to watch me hang out. If you're looking to get some of your board games painted, miniatures painted, whatever you want, always hit me up. You can hit the get quote button, you can just send me a message. So I'm going to have to do 2 coats on this guy's hair, but that's fine. I actually think the last time I painted this guy too, I did 2 coats, so just the way it goes. And then we're going to use a sepia wash to give it a nice blonde sheen to it. No, I mean, if you live in Denmark, you'd be surprised how cheap international shipping is. I mean, it takes a while, but if you're just throwing your miniatures into a box and sending them to me, like a tiny box and sending them, it's really not that expensive. I have a commission right now from a guy that lives in Japan, and he sent me 6,000 points worth of Warhammer miniatures that are crazy expensive, and I don't think shipping was too bad for him. But obviously, I mean, he sent me army transport cases, so they're like the foam boxes, essentially, so that was a little bit more than just throwing unpainted minis in a box. But yeah, I do get quotes a lot from people overseas, and it's really not that bad. Obviously, if you can find somebody local, though, I would go with them, just because supporting somebody around you is pretty awesome. Unless I'm cheaper, then by all means. By all means, I'll take the work. But anyway, so we're just hitting this second layer on the hair. And the other guy was pretty much ready to roll. All of these guys are pretty much done. Like, their major colors. The only animal that we haven't touched really at all is the tiger, but we're going to do the tiger last, so it's a little bit more involved in its painting process. So we're going to use the sepia shade on the hair. It makes it look perfect. So on this guy right here, oop, I'm throwing the brush around, sorry. When you apply shades or anything like that, you want to make sure, depending on how you're using it, you want to make sure that you're letting gravity do all of the work. And since it is pretty much just the actual ink medium inside and a little bit of pigment, you can apply it really heavy, and it will evaporate as it dries, just leaving the pigment. So you can see, right, I now have the shadow underneath the beard. And that's the effect that we're going for. So I'm going to put them down, and it'll dry exactly that way, and then we'll go back over the highlight areas with that same golden blonde color. You can see way more details are going to pop on this guy, because I actually sculpted in a little bit of detail. The Scythe miniatures, the mechs, are really awesome to paint. They have a lot of detail. These guys, not so much detail, but you can still make them look really nice. You know, if somebody was going to do, you know, like if you had Scythe and you wanted to get it painted, really I would just suggest tabletop level, at least like my standard painting. Because with the heroes you can only do so much because the sculpts aren't deep, like the actual detail that they carved into it. They're probably 3D models, but they didn't make it very deep, so kind of hard to get a lot of detail in there. So we're going to let that dry. The sepia shade dries super fast, but it looks like that's going to be great. Alright. So, what we can do now, let me see, let me grab a darker brown. Or we can do, I know what we can actually work on. So, a couple of these people have black hair, so we'll just knock that out real quick. And actually, I forgot, she has red hair. So I'm going to use the same golden color, the nice blonde color, except we're actually going to use a couple red washes. So we'll do a red wash, and then we'll use the sepia shade, and then we'll be, actually, you know, we probably won't even have to highlight it, but for this little detail, it's a perfect recipe for red hair. But anyway, if you're just now joining, thanks for hanging out. I'll be finishing these heroes up today. I did have a request to show how I do the basing effects on them. How long does it take to paint a mini? So for me, usually combined, it takes about 1 hour a miniature. And I'm a little bit faster just because, at least tabletop level, it takes me about an hour per miniature. I'm a little bit faster just because I paint by color. At this stage in the process, it slows down a little bit just because I'm having to do the individual details, but to give you an example, I painted all 28 mechs in 2 days, and you can check those out on the page as well. You should see pictures. So I can do 28 miniatures in 2 days to completion. Sorry, I gotta move the camera. Or, like over the weekend, I worked on this guy. And this is what I would consider my display quality. And so he took about 9 hours. So you can see the difference, right? I mean, I can either do a lot of work or I can individually detail every single scale, put together a nice tiered base like that. So you can see all the objects, or like the directional lighting that's painted onto them, everything like that, compared to, well, I'm not going to grab it because I'm going to have to move this camera again, but you get the idea. Alright, so I hope that answered your question. So now that that sepia shade is dry, I'm just going to go back in, pick out the details here on the beard, nothing crazy. These are all really simple techniques that anybody can do at any level. The only real kind of trick, I would say, like if you're a brand new painter versus what I'm doing, is just the speed. And most of the speed just comes from brush control and understanding like what my paints are going to do. But otherwise, I just use basic techniques on tabletop level commissions. Sometimes I do floating medium or like glazing, stuff like that. Like if you had watched some of the Massive Darkness stuff that I did last week, that I finished on Friday, you'll see that I did in fact have to do some kind of advanced techniques on a few of the minis, but that's just how it goes. You know, I like to make sure that the miniatures look good first. It isn't always about speed for me. Alright, so we're gonna let this guy dry still. I just gotta check my reference here to make sure that she does have red hair. So let me see. Yeah, I gave her red hair. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a red tone, which I believe is right here. Yep. I do have a Games Workshop tone that I like to use a lot, but this red quick shade from Army Painter is pretty good. I'm gonna mix a little bit of the sepia shade in with it. So you'll notice really quick too, whenever I hit her real quick with this detail, it's gonna immediately give us red looking hair. And it's gonna dry a little bit less intense, and it's gonna cover up some of that yellow saturation that's going on. So let that dry, and then I might do an orange highlight on it, I don't know. We'll see. I would say all of these are pretty much, they're anywhere between 60 to like 90% completed, so. Since I have the gold out, we're just gonna wait for this dude to dry so I can knock it out, do the rest. So just doing these implied highlights here. Gotta get his little top lip here, the mustache. There we go. Gonna have to get a little bit more of that gold color out. Just so we can make sure it looks really nice. Forgot I moved. There we go. There we go. That should help. I keep forgetting I moved the camera a second ago. Like, my body's used to where the camera normally is, so. Alright. Might have to do multiple layers like we did the first time. But we'll see. It's kind of a finicky color if you don't, if you aren't patient with it, but if you're ever interested in having me paint some stuff for you, through the end of the week, since I just hit 200 likes on Facebook, I'm doing 20% off all orders, and then through the rest of October, I'm also just doing 10% off. That includes everything except for bases, just because my basing materials aren't, like, I don't charge my time for basing materials, I just charge the actual cost, so. But as always, if you ever are interested about how much something would cost, just send me a message or hit the get quote button, fill out that little form. That'll be it. If you are desperately interested, kind of, not desperately, but if you are wanting more information on the difference between the different tiers and everything, if you just go to minipainting.studio/pricing, you can see some examples, you can see I give you a better explanation kind of what the difference is. Alright, so I think his hair looks great. So he is done, so to speak. He just needs his helmet finished. We'll see if that red hair is nice and dry yet or not. See how that goes. There's a mysterious fruit fly floating around the room now. Alright, so we can see here that it did tone it down. It's still drying, so we gotta wait on that a little bit. So we gotta wait on her. Why don't we knock out the metallics on these guys? So I'm gonna use this Army Painter Plate Mail. It's pretty much my go-to for tabletop colors. It's a good, solid silver. I always like to use it. I don't like to actually use the dropper portion of the dropper bottles. Usually I let the dropper dry out on top, and then that way I just do a cap and tap the cap on whatever I need. Which may seem crazy, but I end up using less paint that way. A lot of people like dropper bottles because they say it saves their paint. I actually use too much all the time. So we'll get his belt buckle. Metallics are always nice and easy. You just do your base color, do a wash. Then you can either dry brush or do edge highlights or whatever you want, depending on how clean or dirty the metal needs to look. This guy, it's not going to look really dirty because he is a bit of a little commander general type dude, so going to keep him that way. And I think that's all the metal that I paint on him usually, yeah. This guy's gun is super bent. But what's nice, so here's a tip for you if you didn't know. If you ever have a board game that the pieces, as long as they're the soft plastic, if the pieces are bent, put the piece, so like if you're running your tap as hot as it'll go, you just stick it in the running water for like 30 seconds. Luckily my hot water heater is dangerously hot, so it's almost boiling. And then after it's hot, you pull it out of the water, straighten up the gun or the piece that's bent, if it's a spear, a banner, whatever, and then you flip the water to cold water, put it back in there, and it'll reset the plastic to make it nice and sturdy for you. So I'm just painting the area that's going to be the gun, the actual like barrel. And then the rest of the gun, we're going to go back through with just a brown, and then we'll wash it, and it'll pick out those details. And it'll look like he has a rifle. Oh, we got paint on his hand. It came right off, though. Actually. That's fine, we'll just paint over that. Luckily it is paint. It's not the end of the world if you get somewhere it shouldn't be. And on tabletop stuff like this, I'm not like custom mixing the colors or anything, so Not the end of the world. So, let me know if you guys have been working on anything, if you're a painter. If you don't paint, what board games you were playing this weekend. If you're excited for anything coming out, I know there are some games shipping this month. I know all kinds of stuff is coming out. We've got whatever that's, Kingdom Death is shipping. I know I have somebody that wants me to paint their Kingdom Death for them, so I'll be looking forward to that. Warhammer Shadespire just went on pre-order last weekend. Everyone that's played that says it's amazing, so I'm looking forward to... I'll probably pick it up, because I've watched a couple play videos and it looks really fun. And it's only $60, which is shocking for Games Workshop, because usually their specialist games are like over 100. Because I bought Silver Tower and that was like 140. That's a great game. If you've never played it, I 100% recommend it. If you read about Silver Tower and you're like, that sounds interesting, you'll probably like it. And those miniatures do require some pretty serious construction because they're real Games Workshop miniatures, so if you're not used to that, just be warned. If you're just more of a board gamer. So we're just slamming this color on here. Grab her belt buckle. Grab these buttons. Grab this top part. These, whatever these are, they're like little canteens or something. Maybe they're not, who knows? That's what I think they are. Pretty easy. Out of all the animals, like the little companions to paint, I think this one's the most fun just because they sculpted it well enough to where you can actually get in and create some nice effects with shading. He only has his shade, he has no other work done on him, so he still needs me to go in and highlight hair, do his tusks, his ears, stuff like that. Nothing too difficult, but it'll really make it look great once you're done. Oh yeah, he has a knife on the back of his little kilt back here. I was mentioning in the last stream, there are some people that do a tartan pattern. They do the plaid on his little kilt or whatever, which is cool, but it is also very hard to make it look good. And on top of that, this is just a tabletop level commission, so I am not at all going to be going in and doing that, because that would blow his actual completion time out of the water. I would say total, these 7 miniatures have about 4.5 hours worth of work, so pretty much on point with what I try and keep it to per miniature. Her poor gun right here is super bent out of shape. But like I was saying, if you're just joining, we can fix that, so it's not a big deal. And you might think, well, why don't you fix it before you paint it? But so with the primer that I use, and then after I apply the varnish when we're actually finished, it's not going to affect it at all. Like, it's not going to hurt the paint for us to straighten it up afterwards with the water. Now, if I wasn't using a good primer and I wasn't using a good sealant, then it might do something bad. I don't know. I've never not used what I use, so I don't know if that is super dangerous or not, but I would assume so. At a certain level. But thanks for joining. I see there are about 20 people watching. We're about 30 minutes into the stream. Just so you guys know, every hour I do take a 5-minute break, so even though I have a nice chair that keeps my back from killing me all the time, I do still have to take breaks. Alright, so I'm going to grab this red tone one more time. I'm going to apply a second coat onto her hair, and then that should give us the perfect redhead look that we're going for. And you can see I work pretty fast. I manage what's going on at the table all at once. So if I have something drying, I move on to something else real quick. Move back to it after it's dried, whatever the situation may be. Alright, so we're going to let that dry now and see what it looks like when it's dry. I don't know how many times I can say the word dry in an hour, but I feel like we're about to find out. Alright, so for these metals, I don't know what I want to use. How about we use this dark tone from Army Painter. Let's see how that treats us. Really, it doesn't matter. I mean, I have my own washes that I mix myself. I use Vallejo, Army Painter, Games Workshop. I don't use a lot of Games Workshop paint, but I do use their shades. I do have a couple of their technical paints. I also think that their snow texture is some of the best you can use. Even though it's a bit expensive, it is really, really nice. I like the way you can kind of mold it and then it dries in that shape. So you could make a snowman if you were so inclined, and it would dry in the shape of a snowman. Alright, so you can see all we're doing is creating a shadow there on the metal. Same way that we did it with the beard, all that stuff. If you're new to miniature painting, or you've ever seen painted miniatures and you wonder, like, wow, how do they get such realistic effects or whatever? It's all tricks. That's pretty much how painting goes. It's all a bunch of techniques. A little bit of talent, mostly techniques. Of course, it depends on who you ask. There are some painters that would tell me I'm crazy for saying that, but it is true. If you don't know the techniques, then you're going to work really hard, you're going to get frustrated, spend way more time on something than you really need to. Just like anything else. So I'm just going through, you can see this is really fast. Just applying that wash. We're going to let it dry, see how it looks. If it needs something else, we'll add something else. If we think some of them need like a brown, we'll add a brown. I've got an umber wash we can use. I have a raw sienna wash we can use, even though I doubt I would need it. Straight up black wash if we need it. Now the other metal that I use for her is a bronze, so we're gonna do that here in a minute. Once this wash is finished drying, so that we don't mess anything up. If you put a wash on wet paint, it'll start to mix around, kind of like if you were mixing water and oil. So you just got to stop touching it immediately. Otherwise, you may have a situation that you are not too happy about on your hands. The last thing you want to do is keep moving it around, because then it will make a serious mess. and it'll dry looking just as weird as you're seeing it whenever it happens, so you don't want to do that. Luckily, we're working in really thin layers of paint today, so we can keep putting washes on, rapid fire. If you're just now joining, make sure to give my page a like, follow it. I stream every day while I'm working on different commissions, different board games, whatever I have on the table. After this commission, I have a Games Workshop commission. And that's it for now. I have a couple that they're just waiting on the Kickstarters to come in before they ship them in and everything, so it's not like I don't have my own personal projects to work on. I do. So we're just real loosely throwing this on. It may take a second or two to dry. Oh, well, her hair is dry, so we can check that out. I think that looks pretty decent for redhead. Might go in there with an actual orange for the highlight, like the implied strands of hair. Alright, so this was the first one we did, so he'll be the first one dry. And you can see he is drying, but it really mellows out that metallic. Makes it look really nice. Check my phone for a second. My bank. What? Hold on. I don't like it when my bank sends me a message. I don't know what that's about. Take a drink here of this giant iced coffee. Okay, so it looks like everybody else has black hair. Oh, does she have blonde hair? Brown hair. Okay. So let's knock out the people that have black hair while we're waiting on this stuff to dry. Excuse you, cat? So, the closer we get to 3 p.m., the more insane my cat Arthur is going to start acting. Because around 3, he eats at 5 every day, and around 3 p.m. every day, he begins to remind me that, hey, it's almost 5 o'clock, over and over. Alright, so I'm just going over real gently. And we will hit a highlight or two here after it dries. There's a big old cat hair right there. There we go. So we will highlight the hair up so it's not just pitch black, really stark. For tabletop stuff, my standard is usually like one color highlight if you're going to shade it down, but since we're not shading this down at all, and it's black hair, that means we just need to highlight it up just a tad bit, depending on what we're looking at. Alright, so that is him. She has black hair. Her head is also much larger than that other dude's head that we just painted. Weirdly enough. But I believe this is an expansion faction, so maybe they had a different painter, or not painter, but different sculptor or something. That could explain the scale difference. And you probably wouldn't even notice that if you weren't painting them, but when you're painting, you do notice little weird stuff like that quite a bit. Hope you guys are having a good week so far. I know it's Monday. Getting closer and closer to Halloween. My mother's birthday is on Halloween, so we always have family plans. Alright, I think I got all that. Yeah, I got all that. Cool. And she has black hair. So this is also an interesting part about this miniature. So you could try and carve this out, but I did not the last time I did this commission. Instead, I just painted the area that's supposed to be the emptiness between the bow and the quiver. Just painted it black to signify, hey, there's nothing here. So an easy little illusion. But, I mean, you could, like, if this miniature was constructed a different way, I almost said a better way, but a different way, you could take a hobby knife in there and cut it out, but I just feel like it's a little bit too risky. Solely because of how soft this plastic is, you might end up, like, gouging a part of the miniature out accidentally, and then you just have a disfigured figure. Nobody wants that. Especially since this is for a client. There's no way in hell I'm gonna test that out for the first time. Alright, but yeah, you can see that little effect right there, right? Like, it looks like the bow is just kind of floating. But anyway, we're supposed to be painting her hair, so let's keep doing that. 41 minutes? Okay. The weather here is so strange right now. It's been like 60. Well, it's been in like 40s in the morning and then 60 in the afternoon, but then the sunlight heats up my apartment really bad, so I still have to use my AC. Otherwise, it'd be like 80 degrees in here. Now, I can't really get a good angle here, so I'm just gonna go behind and around and pray that I don't mess anything up. I'm going through her shoulder where the bird is. Okay, well. Didn't mess anything up, so I'll call that a win. I'm gonna go real close here. For those keeping score, I am using a size 00 brush. It is the brush I use the most for pretty much everything. Alright, so I do believe her hair is complete. Put that down. You can see on this guy, right, after it dries, the black isn't so crazy looking, but I think his beret is green, and I didn't paint it green. Yep, alright, so let's fix that real quick. It'll take 2 seconds. Assuming I can get this off. There we go. If I don't throw this everywhere. Wow, wow. Let's calm down there, paint. I only need one tiny... There we go. Yeah, earlier today this broke open. And the glove hand, which normally gets covered in paint, or at least the thumb, was totally clean, and this hand got totally dirty. So normally I would just use that green wash over the deep taupe base color that I use. However, some of the edges here are messed up just because we painted the face and the hair. So I'm going to go over it with the green to kind of re-give it some body, and then we'll hit it with the deep taupe color. Or deep taupe. We'll hit it with the actual wash, and then I did mess up a little bit there. But we still have the black out, so I'll just hit it just like that. Alright, so let that dry. So as you can tell, they're getting really close to being finished, minus the animals. The animals don't take too long to highlight and everything. Tiger takes a little while. So I'm gonna let those metallics keep drying for a minute. I'm gonna check my phone, somebody sent me a message. One minute, I gotta answer this question. Oh, I didn't know we could... Oh, okay, 1 second. And then we will go back to whatever was happening there. I'm a little distracted, sorry. Little bit distracted here. What do I do with this? What? All right, cool. So the metal's done. Hey, let's do her metal, shall we? I think that sounds good. So I have had this Vallejo Game Color Copper for years. Years and years and years. So many, like, it's, this entire bottle's messed up. The actual dropper cap is stuck in the cap itself, so you gotta like dig it out. I mean, we're talking about all kinds of levels of dangerous here, but it's probably my favorite copper color I've ever seen. Hammered copper is its full legal name, but one of the best I've ever seen from any company. The level of pigment on it is disgusting. There's so much pigment. I think it complements really well with the purple robes that she's wearing. My cat is being so patient, just silently sitting behind me. Hoping that it's 5 o'clock already. If we don't finish this commission today, it's all good. I'm already pretty ahead of schedule here. I'm like 8 days ahead of schedule, so 2 full weeks ahead, business day wise. But they will be done tomorrow, that's for sure. Really in my head, I'm just trying to keep the pacing correct. Why do you keep yawning? You tired, cat? Huh? You sleepy? I'm gonna have to look and see what color I painted her sash in the middle. I don't remember last time. It's usually the way it is, though. I'll remember most of the details about a paint job, but I'll forget some things. At least whenever I'm working on something that's just like painting the box art, I'll remember. Custom stuff, I mean, I don't know. Good luck. We're just going to use a dark wash on this whenever it's ready to go. Really helps mellow out the color. My cat is attempting Mission Impossible to see if he can get into my lap. But I know for a fact there's no room right now. So if you're just now joining, we're working on these Scythe heroes. I've been working on the metal. We just finished up some hair previously. Did the washes on them. I think that's about it, right? No, gotta do that. I need to get my eye drops. My eyes are dry today. I noticed it last night too. But it's been really dry in my apartment, so. Alright, so she's good to go. Alright, so let's check out some of this metal, see how it went. Not too bad. With a highlight, it'll all be great. And that metallic color is dry, so we're gonna have to bust out the metal again. So we're gonna pull out the Army Painter metal that I use all the time. This plate metal, silver. Straighten that brush out with my tongue. Alright. So for his helmet, we're just going to do edge highlights. Edge highlights on the belt real quick. Bam. Gonna go across the brim here of this little visor deal. Just like that. Nice and easy. Then we'll do the spike. Some back ledge. Just like that, and that'll be his helmet. So his metal is complete. Do these little canteen deals. And you can see that shading on there is great just from the wash. So that all you have to do is just go into the edge. It'll really make it pop. The idea for my tabletop commissions, I mean, they look good from however far away this is, about a foot, right? But they're supposed to look really good at the table, so when you're playing, there's usually a high level of contrast so that you can easily pick out the details from the minis, whatever it is that you're playing with. And with the Scythe miniatures, it's pretty easy to do. So we're just going through and hitting wherever this light's reflecting to kind of accentuate everything. That's nice and easy. The rest of that gun's going to be brown. Same with this one. So you just got to make sure you get the top part. If you want to see what the mechs look like that I had finished last week, go ahead and check out the rest of my page here, Mini Painting Studio. You can check them out. Got some good pictures of them. And they go along with the same colors that we're using on the heroes so that they all kind of go together. And then after this is all painted, the only other thing we have to do is the actual basing. And I'll go ahead and make sure I do that on stream. Since it was requested yesterday by somebody, or maybe, I think it was Saturday, I don't know. Someone asked, could you please show, so I will. I won't be mixing my basing mixture, but I will show the process that I do. I use a weird little plastic spatula tool from Games Workshop. And you can see there's crap on it from doing bases, but it's a bendy little spatula. And then on this end, it has a bigger spatula, bendy, so you can push stuff around. Then you just put the paste on the miniature, and you let it dry. You cross your fingers, hope it looks good. And that's just applying a basic texture. If you're trying to do something like the display piece that I had on my little price guide, or if you're trying to do a bigger base like this on this guy, then you need to use corkboard. Then you can use corkboard, and then you go in and you put the texture paste and everything on there with it. This guy's still a work in work in progress. There you go. The only thing that's done on him completely is just his the green armor plating, some of the metal. But anyway, that's kind of like the next level basing, is doing the corkboard instead of just the texture. I'm also wondering where... I think it looks like maybe my cat stole a miniature that was over here. Yeah, that's the only explanation. Because one is definitely missing. Hey, are you... Cat, what are you doing? Alright, well anyway. A mysteriously vanishing miniature. Alright, so all that metal is complete. Let's see, I've been streaming for an hour. So if you're just now joining me, I am so glad you're here. But I'm also sorry, because every hour I take a break. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break. Oh, here's this guy. Let me show you this real quick. So here's another example of a corkboard base on a smaller miniature, so you can see that. This is one of the display level paint jobs here. But you can see the cork, and then you add the different pieces of static grass and everything. It looks nice, like he's standing on a platform or something. So anyway, I take a break every hour, so I will be back in 5 minutes. I know people are just now joining. I'm so glad, but I'm also so sad, so you can leave if you want. It's not going to totally break my heart, but I'll be back in 5 minutes. I need to stand up, walk around. Music's gonna make me go to sleep. Oh, man. Oh, and I just drank coffee. Alright, I'm crashing, guys. Let me, Your boy needs some sparkling water. I might die. No cat. I don't think so, man. It is not time, bro. It is not time. Nope. Alright. No. No, cat. Okay, guys, so... Oh, and I was a moron and left my brush in the water. 10 out of 10. Would make beginner mistakes again. Alright, so we are back. Get that nice little logo to load. Okay, so... Thanks for sticking around, if you stuck around. Dropped from 30 viewers to 4. I also noticed that my chat is not synced. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick in another area. If you messaged me, I don't hate your guts. That's not the case here. Okay. What's happening? Is this live? Wait. Okay, yes. Alright. Now I see which ones are coming from where. Hopefully it stays up to date. I don't know. The actual comments dropped off around Steven. I saw it on my phone. I was like, oh, that's great. All right, so let's fix the camera here. Hopefully that didn't drive you insane. Oh yeah, let me change this music too. This music's literally gonna kill me, guys. It's gonna literally kill me. All right, hold on 1 second. Let's listen to the Blaze Bus radio station. That always does us well. What's going on here? There we go. All right. Back in action. No idea if comments are going to be working out now or not. Let's do the red on these two. They just have these tiny little red accents. Nothing too crazy. So I'm going to pull out the dark red real quick. Chaotic red. Pump out a little bit. Not using a wet palette or anything today, as usual, since we're not trying to hang on to these colors. Give me another brief moment. Sorry, this hopping back on the stream here after that break. Kind of been a mess. All right. I have all kinds of weird stuff going on my phone. What else is new? Okay, where are the Scythe heroes? Here they are. All right, so I did the bottom. She has red boots, red belt. Red. He has red. Okay, cool. All right, got it. So let's knock it out. Not a lot of precision required here. Just gonna do this base red and then we'll wash it all. Highlight it a little bit. Nothing too crazy. As you can tell, the tiger is still the base coat color. Haven't touched it at all. only because it makes me a little nervous to paint it. It always looks great, but you know, painting tigers, it's kind of intimidating. But last time I did it, I think I figured out a nice little method, so we'll just stick with that. Alright, so this section gets painted red right here. I thought this was bad and bougie, that's funny. Can barely hear it. Her little shoulder pad deals. Oh, come on, where are you at? Oh, she only have one? Hold on. I think this miniature might be a miscast. No, she only has one. Alright, cool. So we're going to put her down. You chill out, lady. Move on to this bad boy. Oh, I didn't even realize I set him down in that silver like an idiot. There we go. Wipe it off so that we know the base is going to have a smooth texture when we paint it. Alright. You know what? We're going to... he doesn't actually have red boots. We're not going to do that. The last time I painted him, I did give him this red stripe across. Or down, I should say. The dude across the bottom? Just the belt. Okay. Excuse you, cat? There's that. Alright, let's mix up a highlight color real quick. Let's use the #1 numero uno scarlet here. Just need a little bit. Breaking up that stripe in the middle by not doing the highlight all the way down, but in sections, so that it gives it a little bit more of an illusion of depth. Anything you can do to break up a highlight to make it look a little bit deeper than it is always good. It's not a lot of work, you're just figuring out where to place the actual paint. Alright, so he's done. And for her boots, we're not going to actually do a highlight. We're just going to wash them. But I gotta highlight these two areas on her real quick. Alright, there you go. Bam. So, I think the boots are dry. We can probably use the sepia or the umber wash. Actually, we're gonna use this mid-tone that I made. It looks good enough for me. And it had separated a little bit, that's why we're shaking it like crazy. So what it is, it's a raw sienna color mixed with some brown. So that's what you're checking out right there. Give me 1 minute. I just need to find a spot that actually shows me live comments. Okay. Because I've been missing people's comments. Alright. What's up, Valerie? Comment ça va? Je suis comme ci comme ça. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit more of this out. I'm assuming you're French based on your name. All right, so just gonna slap this wash on. The way that it dries is pretty subtle, and it's not as intense as it looks when it's applied. All of my inks are kind of like that. They look much more saturated out of the bottle, and then when they dry, they really, really mellow down. Alright. Honestly, I kind of want to do the same on his boots. I'm just going to throw this on there to see what it does to that deep taupe color. I haven't actually used this on the deep taupe on its own, so it's going to be a new little experiment here. Haven't tried it, but I'm assuming it'll look alright, but I just need to see if I actually have to go back over and cover anything. That's all. Might be able to do the same. We're going to give this guy gray boots, so I'm going to use the same wash just on the gray. Actually, I need to get in that crack right there. Alright, so I'm going to use the same wash just on his gray boots on their own. And then we'll see when it dries what color I should use to go back over them. I have an idea in my head of what color, and that color is going to be the same color that we used to highlight the warthog, or the boar, whatever it is. So, 2 birds, 1 stone situation. Alright. So we're going to let that chill for a minute, dry. I'm going to hit this little back part. The bison's always kind of weird to paint because he has like these extra areas that are just kind of weird, but... So let's get started on the warthog. So his highlight color is this color right here. Army Painter Monster Brown. Ooh, spooky scary. It's October, guys. Alright. You always want to make sure that your paints are shooketh nasty. That way you get good consistency. Now this stream looks live, so I think at least the new one that I'm watching, so I think I can see people's comments. If someone could just be so kind to comment whatever you want, you can call me fat, ugly, you can say hello. I just need to see that my stream chat is updating, because it wasn't for like an hour. So if you could be so kind, that'd be great. We're going to go in and start knocking out these highlights on this little dude. So the trick to these highlights is going to be doing implied hair. Meaning even if there's no hair, we're going to be doing highlights, little brush strokes to start picking it apart to make it appear as if there is hair there. Pretty quick process, really. It just helps break up the miniature, give it more depth. And it looks like I'm not getting as good as coverage as I would want. Let me actually check this paint. Huh. I thought I mixed it. Appears to be going on pretty thin. Well, we're gonna keep doing highlights with it. If it doesn't work, we'll just wash it down, start over. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the color I used last time. Let me check my phone real quick. The images that I save. Yeah? Maybe I washed it again last time. No, this is right. Okay. Alright, well. We'll keep it up. One second. Somebody else messaged me. Alright. Okay. For those of you just joining, hope you guys are having a good day. I'm a little suspect of the color that's going on right now because it's not... The coverage just isn't very good. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's really weird. Maybe it just has the mixing medium in there too much or something, but... It is not behaving the way that I am used to. Maybe as it dries a little bit. We'll see. We will make it work. We will will it. The paint will not defeat us. Nah, yeah, actually now it's working just fine. So I don't really know what the deal was with that at first, but it appeared that it wasn't mixing correctly. And now it's like mocking me, I guess, because it's working so well, but that was weird, man. Sometimes that happens too, especially if you're using army painter paints. The mixing medium that they have in there is really potent and it separates really well, but you guys saw me shaking the bottle. Maybe I just didn't go for it hard enough, I don't know. So while this does appear to be tedious, it's really not that hard. I'm just picking out different sculpted pieces of hair and bringing it back up with a highlight. Nothing too hard. Starting to suspect that the brush I'm using has seen its better days here. Which may mean it is time to snap a brush. I haven't done it in a week. Yep. Rest in peace. That's all she wrote. Brush is dead. Let's pop open a new one. Get rid of any glue that's on there. All right. Snapping brushes. And after we do these layers, I may go back through and do a sepia wash, just because that, I don't know, the base wash and the base color that we used, it's not really, there's like not enough definition, or there is, but it's like the transition between dark and light dark is way too stark, so I need something to kind of go in there and act as that middle tone. That sounds like Facebook business. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna ignore that. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do after we finish these hair highlights. Which unfortunately means I'll probably have to go back over it all one more time, but honestly, to make sure this looks good. Since it's being weird, I don't know. I mean, I know for a fact I did not have these problems the last time I did this commission. So I don't know what's going on with it, but we're gonna change it up a little bit, that's for sure. Because it should not be doing this for us. It's doing some implied hair here. Alright, we're gonna let that chill for a second. Then we're gonna do that sepia wash, because I don't know, it's driving me insane, man. Still trying to figure out what, I want to do something funny with the stream every time we have to snap a brush, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with it. I do go through brushes, so I have talked about brushes a million times on here. The different kinds of brushes, the different qualities of brushes, which ones you should use, which ones you shouldn't use, whatever. But I use relatively cheap ones whenever I'm doing this kind of work, and when they start to go bad, just crack them. Crack them. Alright, so I think this is probably dry, so I'm going to do that sepia wash. We're just going to do the whole miniature, so I'm going to do a bigger brush. Maybe this brush, it's really big. We're going to see what that does as it dries. So you can see it's applying that nice tan tone to the whole thing. What I'm hoping is that it mellows out the darkest darks, blends in the highest highlights, and then that way when we go back over to do tiny spot highlights, it'll be great. If not, I'm just going to melt this whole miniature down and send it back to the client with an IOU sticky note. Alright, so we're going to let him chill out for a minute. That's actually probably exactly what we needed to do there, so... And then the eagle actually used the same color for the highlight as the boar, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it another wash. But only on the back feathers. So I can do a darker highlight. Alright, so you can see that was super quick and simple. We're going to let that dry. Oh, check it out. It's like Christmas came early, y'all. The wash was a success. Look at this. I can already see it drying. And it is doing exactly what we needed it to do, which was pull up the darks, pull down the brights. It's going to look amazing when it's dry. So I just saw his dumb little beret. So I'm going to throw this green tone on top real quick. His dumb little hat that we were ignoring the whole time. Hit it with this tone real quick, let it do its thing. Some of the different paints are shiny when they dry, some aren't. It doesn't really matter if they are because we're going to hit them with a matte varnish that's going to bring them all together. And another good tip too, if you're a new painter and you get some brush strokes on stuff, you can always use a brush on matte varnish, and that will actually smooth out a lot of those brush marks. Let me check these updates real quick, sorry. People always send me messages while I'm working. Let me answer this comment, hold on. Such a good question. What? Wow, alright, yeah, so Ben, I don't know if you're still watching, that's hilarious. But yeah, so it looks like I'm not getting live updates from the Facebook comments, so that's really lame. But it looks like I won't have to send you melted plastic. It looks like that wash saved it, so. Let's check this house drying. That's, I mean, it's nowhere near dry. Alright, so. I'm trying to think the next direction to go in here. We could do the grays, people that have gray. Oh yeah, let's check this guy's boots. I forgot about that. I actually like the way that looks, so we'll probably stick with it. Alright, so I don't know if we should do the bear or the bison. Bear the bison, bear the bison. Or we could do bases. Let's do bases. So I'm gonna pull out this color here. And really all I'm doing, yeah, I guess I need to do the whole thing. Yeah. So I'm gonna do a really thin coat of paint on these bases, not anything thick at all. Really just kind of like a base coat so that we can do the rims, but I just need something for the basing material to stick to. So this is gonna be really thin. Very, very, very thin. Not even primer level stuff, just really thin for stuff to grab onto. And then I always do a brush on matte varnish before I do the spray varnish on bases anyway, so that way they don't chip or anything like that. Okay, now I am getting updates. That's great, okay. That's so weird. So yeah, Bennett is the guy that owns these miniatures. I am just temporarily putting paint on them for him. And I should be done with this commission tomorrow. If you're just now joining, thanks for hanging out. If you are ever in need of some commission painting, holler at me. You can send me a message. You can fill out the get quote form on the Facebook page. You can message the Facebook page. You can go on to the website. You can go to minipainting.studio/pricing and you can see a more detailed explanation of the different levels I offer of painting service. For the rest of the week, I'm running a 20% off special. And then for the rest of the month of October, I'm running a 10% off special. And if you just like to watch people live streaming, I stream working usually twice a day, at least once a day, Monday through Friday. 8:30 a.m. is the morning stream, 2 p.m. is the afternoon stream, Central Standard Time. I do see I'm getting a lot of international viewers today, so holler at ya. Not sure where in the world you are, but hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good morning, evening. I'm throwing the brush, so that's exciting. There we go. All I'm doing right now while we're waiting on stuff to dry is just throwing on this super thin base layer so that the basing material has something to grab onto. We really could start the basing right now as well. I mean, at this point it doesn't matter what we do next because the miniatures are going to get done about the same pace anyway, so... And actually, it's probably a smart idea for me to do the basing at this stage. So maybe we will do that next. That'll be kind of something interesting for you guys to watch. Haven't done it on stream before, so it'll be a first. Someone requested to see how I do it, so you guys can check that out. Someone told me earlier they ripped these miniatures off the bases before they painted them. And honestly thought that they were like 100% permanent onto the base. And you'd have to cut them off, but I don't think they're going to hinder us too much from doing the basing, so... Nothing can be worse than the Blue Faction's mechs. Those were really hard to base. From all their little legs, like little spider legs. So just throwing on this deep taupe. It's the color I use for all basing, or not basing, but just all base colors in general. Really thin. I mean, you can still see base color beneath it. That's totally fine. You'll get the idea of what we're about to do here in a minute when I start busting it out. Just real quick, thin brush strokes here. Just like that. Alright, so pretty sure the first ones that we did are dry by now, so let me double check them. We won't need the palette in the way anymore, so we're going to move that out of the way. My little mixing garbage there. Alright. So yeah, that's decent grip. So here's the basing texture. You can see that I actually threw some of the texture on top so that I can always know what's going on with it. The basing mix that I use is paint mixed with a ultra fine texture powder, and I may have to add some more paint into it actually, plus some water eventually. But it's an ultra fine texture powder mixed with some various, ooh, I burped, sorry, various gravel and sand pieces. This is the tool that I use. It's from Games Workshop. So let me mix this up again real quick here. It does appear to be getting pretty thick, so I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit here and literally pour water in. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that was nerve-wracking. Alright, so now it looks like it's good to go. Pretty much just looks like a bunch of poop. I know it's so exciting. Now it looks better. Now it looks like some brownie batter. That's pretty much the texture that you want, is like batter. You don't want it to be runny, so I'm really making sure that it's mixed in. Yep, looks good to me. Alright, so I'm going to wipe all that excess off the best I can. Okay, so I'm going to back this camera up a tad bit here. Take a scoop of the goop. So you guys get the idea. You see what's going on here. It's not too crazy. Wiping off any extra at the rim. Just pushing it around. Just effectively using this little spatula. Really the only steps left after you put it on. You have to let it dry, obviously. Then after it dries, you go back in. I usually, now, the color that I used, you can dry brush immediately. I like this earth color. It dries a little bit darker, but that's about it. But I usually like to give it a wash and then dry brush it with a raw sienna, and it looks really good. But that's it. So she has her base done. It looks nice and smooth right now. And then as that paint and water that's in there evaporates and dries, it's going to leave all of the texture, powder underneath, and the gravel and the grass and everything. So let's do her next. Now you see I just got a bunch of it on there. I'm going to layer it on the front like that, get rid of the rest. And then I'm just going to push it around. It's almost like you're icing a cake, except it's not a cake, so... Alright. Looks good. Let's do the other side. So you can tell the basing isn't super exciting, but it's a part of it. Alright, that one's ready to go. Put it down. You could use a brush for this, but it just is literally going to destroy your brush, so it's up to you. Alright, which one's not going to be a super big pain? They all look like they're going to be a little difficult here, but kind of why I wanted to do it at this stage. You know what? Let's do the big old buffalo here. If you're interested in seeing what the texture bases actually look like, just check out the wall on the actual Facebook page, Mini Painting Studio, and you'll be able to see what the textures look like when they dry. Since I did just remix water into this whole mess of mud, I'm not sure how long it'll take to dry. It usually takes a little bit. Not like hours, though, just about 5-10 minutes. It is essentially just paint, so paint with stuff in it. If you're just now joining, though, I see we have quite a few people watching. Hope you're having a good day. We are working on the heroes from Scythe. Getting close to being finished with this commission. Just doing the basing stuff right now before we finish up the rest of the actual miniature. Let me actually move these way out of the way. Hold on. Get the dead brush out of here. Get out of here. Alright. Alright, next one. Let's see. Let's do this guy. So, you can see on him, though, after we did that sepia wash, it looks perfect. I was worried about that for about 10 seconds. Now, not worried at all about it. Remixing the brownie batter here. So, a lot of people, I mean, it depends. Some people don't use this kind of technique. Some people paint the base, they put PVA glue on there, they literally put sand, gravel, whatever. Not as many people use the texture paste or like a mix like I use. Games Workshop makes some really nice texture basing paint. It's just unfortunately expensive, but it is terrific quality. I use their snow texture. So the snow stuff's a little bit pricey, but I get good use out of it. But as this stuff starts to dry, I'll kind of show it to you. And I think it's gonna dry super like smooth. I don't know, because it's pretty wet, because it was pretty dry, and you can't really work it around as much when it's dry. Now, since I did mix water into it this time, the next time it dries out, I'm just gonna have to mix paint into it. And luckily I bought the replacement paint that I usually mix in here, the raw sienna that I use for everything. Raw sienna to me is like how fine artists always use burnt umber. That's how much I use it, so. Alright, so that base is good. Not as difficult as I was expecting it to be, with the animals on there as well. You can see she's starting to dry. There's a hair on it, but she's starting to get there. Alright, who do we do next? The bear looks like it's going to be a pain, so let's just go for it. For miniatures like this too, where you can't take them off the base, you will get basing material on the feet sometimes, so that's also why I didn't paint their feet yet. So that way, I mean, and I'm talking about like barely a little bit, so it's not like I'm like covering the feet, but it may run up the side of the shoe, something like that, and then that way you just paint over it and you can't tell. Alright, so this looks like a nightmare right here underneath this bear, so bear with me. Cue the drum kit. Alright. So I don't really know how to approach this the best way, so we're just going to live our best life here and hope we don't fuck it all up. So oh, we got it. Alright, so I got it back there. Okay, everything is fine. This is fine. We're not dying. We're not dying. Okay, pull it through. You kind of got to push and pull this stuff around. Smear it around like a bagel. I've never tried to do it on camera before, so it's a little bit wonkier. Because normally I like flip them upside down and do all kinds of weird stuff. Okay, wow. Alright, so we got that. The last area is in between the two front paws, and that looks like a total nightmare, so here we go. Wish me luck. My god, alright, we did it! Round of applause, sweet, awesome. I'm never wanting to do that anytime soon again. There we go, cool. 2 left. Okay, we can do it. For those of you just joining, we're applying all the basing stuff. The miniatures aren't finished, but I figured right now would be a good time to do it. I'll probably hit everything with the clear coat, or I'll clear coat the base as soon as we're done with the basing texture. You can see right here it's starting to dry. You're getting that nice earthen texture that's going on. Once it's really dry, we're going to do a dark wash over it, and then we do a dry brush all around the edge. So it doesn't stay looking like brownie batter forever. So I'm going to shove this underneath this wolf so I can pull it in a second. I need to get some in between his feet there. This tool's pretty nice. I'm sure you could make your own. Seeing that Games Workshop made it, it was $9, and it's literally just a thin piece of plastic. But it does have like finger grips on it and, you know, whatever. I mean, it's overpriced. But the guys at my Games Workshop store like know me by name and always convince me to buy stuff. So when I was in there, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm tired of ruining my brushes doing texturing, so. And this does work pretty well. It's like a tiny palette knife. Super tiny palette knife. It does have a bigger side as well, but obviously we're going for precision here. Alright. The wolf's legs are super close together, so this is pretty scary. Alright, got some on the leg there. It's okay, it's okay. Alright, that's done. Whew, it's so stressful, man. Gotta go in the middle. Be cool, be cool. Alright. That one was easier. I was talking to another client of mine that wants me to go back. I had already done his Scythe characters. He wants me to go back and do the texturing, and he had mentioned how difficult this would be because the animals are there, and I was like, meh, it won't be too bad. Clearly I wasn't as informed as I am now. Alright, there we go. Wipe off the extra. Alright, he is finished. We have one more. Thankfully, just one more. Sandra Garrido has joined. What's up? What's up, what's up? Alright, so we have one more to do this basing texture on. We will be done. If you're just now joining, hanging out with us, thanks for hanging out. We're applying brownie mix to these bases. We're getting really close to the end of this commission. Obviously, you can tell that the tiger still has its base color, but like I have said previously, we are saving the tiger for the end because it's kind of a all-in-one process. You have to work on it all at the same time, so didn't make sense to do it in stages. So what I'm doing is I'm applying this paste that then is going to dry, and it's going to look like a nice earthen texture, like dirt. The paste is made up of paint, super fine texture powder by Liquitex, I believe. Then there is some off-size gravel and some tiny, tiny fine sand mixed in there. What's up, Sandra? Hope you're out there drawing a bunch of sad gals. I'll show you a base real quick too, so you can see what it looks like when it dries, or you can just check. Whoa! Look at that! Look what I just did. Isn't that super awesome? So I'm gonna go hit this with the sink real quick. Back up, cat. Alright, so luckily you can just literally slam it with water and it comes off. Alright, so that was a nightmare. We're not going to be able to touch that for a while because it is covered in water. But the other ones are drying just nicely. You know, accidents happen, man. It's all good. This ain't my first rodeo. I know what to do. Luckily, water doesn't fuck up the acrylic paint or anything, so anything we did paint on her, she's all good. Alright, so let me show you an example of one of the finished bases with the texture so you're not guessing what it looks like. Here we go. So, you can see on this dude, let me fix my camera angles here. 1 second. I'm dropping him too. Somebody save me. Whoop, 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 whoop. Alright, so you can kind of see here. I think, I wish I had a better angle, but I don't. Let me see what I can do for you. There we go. Alright, so you can see it pretty much just adds that textured base. Looks like earth. It's pretty sweet. You can also put it in the cracks on other bases, so like on this base it's corkboard, and you just apply it on the sides. But let's fix this camera angle here. See where I'm holding this. Yep. Does this feel good? Feels good? Alright. Close this up. And this is drying. You can see, I mean, literally it's just water, so like everything's fine, it's still there. It's just wet. Just wet. And then these are drying slowly here. So you can see that same texture, right, as it dries. Looks like hamburger meat. Pretty chill. Nothing too crazy. So that was a little excitement there. It's always nice when you almost destroy what you're working on. This is crooked. Let me fix that. And the stream is lagging a little bit. Sorry. Alright. So we've been going for 130 here. The streams have been so weird today because the comments... Yeah, okay. Huh. Comments are updating weird, but alright. Alright, what can we work on while this stuff dries? Let's see. I mean, possibly nothing, but hopefully something. If the edges are dry, it's okay to mess with it, but otherwise, let me see. Still pretty wet. I'd rather not call the stream early just because, I mean, we've only been going for 2 hours? 2 hours, that's fine, I guess. Alright, well, so normally I take a break every hour. What time is it? So it should be what, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock? Let's see. Oh my god, I'm gonna ignore that message. Holy shit. Alright, so... You know, sometimes you just get a message that you absolutely don't need in your life. That's what I just got. Alright, so I'm gonna have to wait for that to dry. I'm gonna have to wait for these to dry. So, maybe I'll just hit this with the fan for a while. Maybe come back later to do it. I don't know. Either way, if you're just now joining, as soon as the stream is actually finished, it will re-upload, so you can check it out. I also will be uploading this morning's stream and this stream in 1080p onto the YouTube channel. Make sure you like and follow my page. I stream twice a day while I am working. Usually first thing in the morning at 8:30 a.m., then again at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you ever need anything painted, let me know. I am open to commissions. If you just like to paint, hang out, like the page, you can follow me on Instagram at Mini Painting Studio. If you are interested in getting something painted, go to minipainting.studio/pricing. Have a great day. Hope it's awesome for you. I hope you don't drop something in water like I just did, like a total Dumas. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you guys again.